Today, motocross is one of the most extreme sports on the planet. Massive jumps, insane speeds, and riders pushing themselves and their machines to the limit. But motocross didn't begin with million-dollar bikes and stadium crowds. It started over a century ago in muddy fields, with riders simply trying to prove who could make it across the roughest terrain. This is the story of how motocross was born. The roots of motocross trace back to England in the early 1900s. Motorcycles were still a relatively new invention, and enthusiasts were constantly looking for ways to test their machines. One popular event was called a motorcycle trial. Instead of racing for speed, riders navigated difficult terrain while trying to avoid putting their feet on the ground. The challenge was all about skill and control. As motorcycles became more powerful, riders wanted something faster and more exciting. Soon, organizers began creating events where competitors raced directly across fields, hills, and natural obstacles. The stage was set for a completely new form of motorcycle competition. In 1924, a major event took place in Camberley, England. It was known as a scramble. Unlike motorcycle trials, riders raced head-to-head across open countryside. There were no groomed tracks, no carefully designed jumps, just rough terrain, mud, hills, and whatever nature placed in front of them. The spectators loved it. The races were unpredictable, exciting, and often chaotic. Soon, scrambles became incredibly popular across Britain, and while the name motocross wasn't widely used yet, the foundation of the sport had been created. The word motocross comes from combining two words, motorcycle and cross-country. The term began gaining popularity throughout Europe during the 1930s and 1940s. As more countries adopted the sport, the races became increasingly competitive. Manufacturers quickly realized that winning races helped sell motorcycles. Companies began building machines specifically designed for off-road competition. The sport was no longer just a hobby. It was becoming serious business. Following World War II, motocross exploded in popularity across Europe. Countries like Belgium, Sweden, and Great Britain became major powerhouses. Many of the sport's first legends emerged during this era. The motorcycles were much lighter than today's machines and had far less suspension travel. Tracks were rough, crashes were common, and riders needed incredible endurance to survive long races. In 1957, the sport reached another milestone when the international governing body launched the first official Motocross World Championship. Motocross had officially become a global sport. Although motocross was thriving in Europe, it took time for the sport to gain traction in the United States. Everything changed during the late 1960s and early 1970s. European champions traveled to America and demonstrated what true motocross racing looked like. American riders were amazed. Soon, a new generation began training specifically for motocross competition. Manufacturers such as Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki invested heavily in the sport. By the 1970s, motocross had become one of the fastest-growing forms of motorcycle racing in America. Today's motocross bikes produce incredible power, while weighing a fraction of many street motorcycles. Tracks feature enormous jumps, technical rhythm sections, and obstacles designed to challenge even the world's best riders. Millions of fans watch professional motocross and supercross every year. What began as riders crossing muddy English fields has evolved into a global phenomenon. Yet despite all the technological advancements, the heart of motocross remains unchanged. It's still about courage, skill, and the determination to conquer whatever terrain lies ahead.
From rough countryside scrambles in England to sold-out stadiums around the world, motocross has come a long way. And every time a rider twists the throttle and launches into the air, they are continuing a tradition that began more than 100 years ago. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from the world of action sports.